Your basic parts of the flute are your head joint, your body, and finally your foot joint. So when putting it together, you want to take your head joint and your body and just gently put them together. You don't want to bend your keys, so don't press down too hard. And once you slide them together, make sure that your tone hole on your head joint lines up with the keys on your body. And once you've done that, you'll take your foot joint and line the rod on the foot joint with the middle of the keys on the body. So finally, once you've played, there's enough moisture in there and you need to get that moisture out. So what you do is you're going to take the parts separately and you're going to take your cleaning rod with your cleaning rag and you're going to put the cleaning rag in the cleaning rod. This goes in the middle. Okay. And with each part of the flute, you want to do it separately. So with your foot joint, you're just going to go all the way through. Just make sure all of your moisture is out. And then you'll set that in your case. With your body, you don't want to go all the way through. So you're going to go through each half. So you'll go through the half, one half, and then you'll go through the other half and place that in your case gently. And then finally, with the head joint, you don't want to go all the way through to this end because there's a cork in here, and you don't want to hit it to put it off of its alignment. So you just want to get all of the moisture out. Just make sure you're not hitting the end of your head joint. Alright, with your posture, you want to make sure that you're sitting on the edge of your chair with your feet touching the ground. Before you even put your flute up to your face, you need to figure out how to position it on your hand. So your left hand, the four first fingers should really be supporting your flute, and you'll set it right there just so when you play your C to D, you will have a place for the flute to sit so it doesn't fall out of your hand. And with your right hand, you'll just set the thumb right here, and all of your fingers should be very close to the keys so you can hit them as fast as possible. And finally, when you put it up to your face, you want to make sure that your flute is parallel to the ground. Now, if it's parallel to the ground, your air is getting through at the best rate it possibly can, because if you have your flute down too far or up here, it's not going to get a great intonation, and you won't be able to have a good sound, or can possibly affect you in a way where you cannot get it. When trying to figure out how to make the correct embouchure, there are two activities that you can actually do with your students so they can kind of figure it out. So the first one is they're going to take their first finger and put it right in the crease below their lower lip, and this is actually where your flute is going to sit, and you're just going to do basic echoing activities with them, and they're going to articulate onto this finger. And that'll help them figure out where to blow into the flute once they have the flute up to their face. So next, when you're teaching them actually how to produce a sound, you don't want them to put the entire flute together. You might just want to start with their head joint. So after this activity, they'll realize that their flute has to sit right where their finger was. So once they're doing that, they might have issues with creating a sound just because they do not place their tone hole in the middle of their lips. Or another problem that can occur is that they're putting too much of their lip over the tone hole, so they can't actually produce air that goes through the head joint into the flute body. So basically you just want to keep your lip center with the tone hole. Just let your lips really set and rest on the head joint. You don't really want to force it anymore. So, and that's how you have a great embouchure for flute. The finger activity that you worked on with your students previously can also help with articulation. What you want to do is you just want them to set it there and just start practicing making the sound you want them to make the sound too, and also to push air out of their body. So once they do that and they practice it right here, they can bring it up to their face and produce an articulation. Sometimes people often have a lazy tongue and they're not really producing a to sound, and they're also probably not pushing enough air to articulate in an appropriate way. The range on the flute can be quite tricky, and it often is seen opposite of what you would expect when you're practicing your range. So when you want to gain some range in the lower registers, you actually want your face to sit like E, and this will help you produce enough air and slow air through the body of the flute so it can get out those nice low notes. And once you're trying to increase your range in the higher registers, you actually want your face to relax to an ooh, and that will create the airway will be smaller, so it will raise the pitch, and you can go and increase your range in the higher. When you're trying to think how to make your flutes the best in tune and the most in tune, bands will often tune their woodwinds to concert A, and that's just your flutes A. Normally, when facing problems with intonation for kids, you want to look at where they're placing their instrument, or is their flute parallel to the ground. Otherwise, if it's not, if it's too down here or too much up here, it's going to really affect their intonation. On top of that, flutes are often asked to manipulate their pitch and often make it go flat or sharp. And normally what they do is they'll have their flute in the starting position, which is parallel to the ground, and they'll roll it down this way or up this way to either lower or raise their pitch. Often beginning band students have about a year or two of recording practice before they start band, and luckily for the new flute players, recorder and flute are from the same family. So when they're starting flute, you want them to stay on B, A, and G. And along with pressing these down, you want them to press down this long skinny key on the back. So once they're finally comfortable with those notes, you're going to probably want to start doing scales as soon as possible. And when you start doing your scale, you'll probably start with a B flat scale. You want your flute players to use this B flat key. The B flat key is really great for your scales and just using it normally, but I just do not use it for chromatic scales. That often makes it too difficult for your flute players. Also, some problems kids have with their fingers is the C to D fingering, because you hold only the first finger and this pinky finger for C, and then you have to go down with your long skinny key, your 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 for D. And often when they don't hold it correctly, it can often make their flute fall out of their hands, and it'll just be really difficult. Also, with D and E flat, they don't hold down this first key. So some kids will often fail and just hold down the key on accident, which the sound can be produced, but it won't be in the best intonation, and it really is the best idea to really look at your kids' fingerings when they're playing D and E flat to make sure that their first finger is up.